that does matter because there is a capability. So there is a difference, isn't there?
Well, there is, but I don't...
This video is of the perspicacious Douglas Murray debating the not so perspicacious Piers Morgan on Palestine and, more broadly, its implications for Britain. Needless to say, Piers Morgan is completely out of his depth. He should have been charged for the absolute schooling and education he received from Murray. They debate the protests taking place in London, especially the protest taking place on that most sacred of weekends for us Brits, Remembrance Weekend. Douglas rightly says marching and protesting on that weekend is a complete insult to the British people, but Piers Morgan totally disagrees.
What about this issue around the pro-Palestinian marches, and specifically the one planned for Armistice Day here in London on Saturday? Do you think it should go ahead?
Well, my own view is that it shouldn't, and it shouldn't because it's not because it should be banned, but because it's a grotesque insult to the British people. It's a deliberately provocative day to choose for such a march. It's a deliberately provocative march. As the Telegraph showed just yesterday, around half of the organisers of the march are themselves linked with Hamas, which isn't at all surprising. We have Hamas commanders, after all, who live in London very safely, often on welfare. So, yes, I think it's an intolerable march. It's an intolerable provocation to the British public and the British government and the British police, by the way, who Saturday after Saturday have been made to put up with unbelievable taunting and abuse from the marchers. It's very clear by now, Piers, that what is happening is that every week the crowds are pushing and seeing if they can push the police further and further, harder and harder, and be more and more provocative. And they're managing to do that. But this is culminating this weekend. And here's the thing. I don't think, and I certainly read and hear, that large numbers of the British public are just not going to put up with this. The march may be diverted.
But let me pick you up on that.
Diverted away from Whitehall. But,
right, but let me pick you up on that, because it's interesting, because you, like me, have been a very vocal, and passionate defender of free speech, and we know that that includes that,
sure,
that you have to accept that other people you may vehemently disagree with have a right to free speech. Christopher Hitchens, someone that you and I both admire.
But this isn't.
No, I'm going to come to my question, but Christopher Hitchens said the only thing that should be upheld at all costs and without qualification is the right of free expression, because if that goes, then so do all other claims of right as well. Now, what was interesting to me, I've been on a bit of a journey this week about what I really think about this, and Nicholas Soames actually said something that really made me sit up and take notice and change my mind about it, actually, because he's Churchill's grandson, he's a Conservative, and he said strongly yesterday that he thinks the march should be allowed to go ahead because the very freedoms that the people on Armistice Day who we honour, who gave their lives in the wars, they did so to preserve the freedoms of people like those marchers, the ones who are not being violent, the ones who are not showing pro-Hamas stuff,
I'm not sure about that.
They have a right to protest.
We'll try to single those two things out for a second. First of all, I don't regard Nicholas Soames as a sort of hereditary inheritor of the mantle of Churchill just because he happens to be his grandson. Besides what you quoted from Christopher earlier, he would never have said that right extended to supporting terror groups. I mean, we're in a total quandary in the UK, as you know, and it's a despicable quandary to be in. We host them as leaders. We have a former deputy prime minister of Iran living in Harrow. We've been at the centre of allowing these people to be in our country and indeed to plot terror from our country for years. So it's always a bit rich to hear the British, I think, lecturing others about being an unsound part of the international security community.
Perfectly put. Valuing his opinion just because he carries the Churchill name is just daft. And it goes back to mass immigration again. We could import 10 million people tomorrow with very different values and beliefs to that of the people of Britain. Then, when they take to the streets expressing those beliefs, we talk about their free speech. Well, if we didn't import them in the first place, we wouldn't have that issue. Surely, any normal, sensible country would expect to know the beliefs of the people it allows inside its borders. Anyway, Murray continues to educate Morgan in this next clip.
No absolute power to ban protest. Therefore, there will be a protest this weekend. But the laws are also there to stop people brazenly supporting terrorism. So if people were to use a pro-Hamas banner or chant pro-Hamas sentiment, that would be against the current law of this country, and the police should take action. That's a different issue, though.
But it is, but it's not being policed.
No, I understand.
It's not being policed.
I understand. So on that, I can agree with you. The police need to enforce the existing laws. However, there will be a large...
They're not going to, because they're outnumbered.
But
they're outnumbered, so they're not
you and I
going
can
to.
agree that that's wrong, but that shouldn't mitigate the rights...
Well, don't you think that matters? Hang on, don't you think that matters?
No, it does matter.
That means that we have a rule of law, but it's not able to be policed. What's the point of having a law if you can't police it?
Well, I agree with you, but I also think that there are a large number of those protesters who genuinely are, in their eyes, protesting for peace, and they're pro-Palestinian, and they have a view in the way that you're...
Well, I disagree with that. And I'll tell you one reason why. The crowds in question are 100 times larger than the number of people who came out when hundreds of thousands of people were being killed in Yemen. They are 100 times larger than the number of people who came out when Bashar al-Assad killed hundreds of thousands of people in Syria. Seems to me that the people in question only care if one side in the particular conflict happens to involve the Israelis.
But they're allowed to.
Very excited.
But they're allowed to.
So I don't... Well, they're allowed to, absolutely, and we can make judgments about them. But I would not presume by any means that what you're talking about are pro-peace people. They're anti-Israeli. That's it.
Well, but they're allowed to be anti-Israeli. I think that's the point. They're not allowed...
Sure, they're allowed to be anti... If you're allowed to be... In that case, I suppose we have to allow people to be anti-other nations as well. I mean, Britain was founded at the same... Israel was founded in the same year, within the year of Pakistan. Maybe we should allow large protests of hundreds of thousands of people to go around the streets of London protesting that Pakistan doesn't have a right to exist or a right to defend itself.
Well,
Maybe we should allow this. I don't think it's a good precedent whatsoever.
Hang on. I don't think you have a right to say that Israel doesn't exist. If you want the extermination of all people in Israel, that is a criminal offence. However, if you are literally, as I said...
Well, it doesn't seem to be a criminal offence, Piers. It doesn't seem to be a criminal offence.
You and I can agree on that. I'm not disagreeing with you about...
We're clearly in a position where they're not policing the law.
No, I understand.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have all of these videos of people inciting violence on the streets.
But
spot on again. Seems to me people are only interested in protesting when it fits with their political and religious beliefs. And it seems a lot of them share a hatred of Israel. And I'll go one step further regarding the police. The reason they're not arresting people is because they agree with them in some instances. Well, when they're not scared of them, that is. The police are now agents of left-wing authoritarianism. This next clip is the best one. Murray has an answer for everything Morgan says. He again absolutely schools him here, and Morgan pretty much admits he's been schooled.
But we also, I think, have to surely look at the people who are genuinely there in a non-violent manner, of which there are many. These are massive protests. I think back to the protests, for example, against Donald Trump when he came to London, against America because he was the president. We allowed that to happen. I didn't necessarily agree with them, but we allowed them to happen. You know, I remember Madonna saying we should blow up the White House, a woman's march in Washington. That happened, and people accepted that.
Well, but here's a very important point on that, Piers. Madonna almost certainly, so far as I know, has no military capability behind her. So when Madonna says, I'd like to blow up the White House, it's a piece of stupid rhetoric from a pop star. When you've just had the largest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust, and you have Hamas supporters and others marching through London calling for it to happen again, that does matter, because there is a capability. So there is a difference, isn't there?
Well, there is, but I don't think that all of these protesters are pro-Hamas.
And the difference is whether or not you have a large artillery behind
you. Yeah, but you don't honestly think they're all pro-Hamas, these people?
Well, I think that anyone who, for instance, chants things like "from the river to the sea" is in fact
yes, but they're not all doing that,
or is criminally ignorant. Oh well, they are. I mean, there's masses of videos of them marching past Westminster Abbey last week saying exactly that.
Yeah, but they're not all doing
marching
it.
past the statue of Winston Churchill last week.
I've watched the videos, and there are lots of people chanting, and some who aren't.
Okay, well, here's a challenge. Okay, well, here's a challenge, Piers. If you decided to go on some kind of march, and in week one you discovered that you had the BNP along your side calling, for instance, for the murder of all black people, would you not wonder whether or not you should go on week two? And would you not drop out by about week three? I'd have thought so. I would.
That's a good question. And yes, I would, but that doesn't actually,
good.
that shouldn't.
Right, so we can tell something about the marchers.
I'm against open borders, and I believe unlimited immigration is destroying Britain. However, my ex-girlfriend is British born and bred and loves her country, the only country she's ever known, but her parents are of Chinese descent. Now, if I happened to be on a Just Stop Mass Immigration protest and there were loads of people around me inciting violence and hatred against her, then I'm distancing myself from that protest. Simple as that. But it seems to me plenty of these Free Palestine protesters are more than comfortable marching side by side with those inciting hate. I'll leave you with this final clip in which Murray really emphasises the absolute joke that is Britain's immigration system.
I just think it's a really interesting test of how far free speech goes.
Well,
and I do feel
here's
uncomfortable.
the interesting test, if I can say so.
Yeah, sure.
The interesting test, if I can say so, Piers, is there are limits to this, in fact. You are not allowed to glorify the murder of people on the streets of Britain. You are not allowed to be a member of a prescribed terrorist group in Britain. But I return to the point I made at the start. We allow it. I repeat, we have Hamas commanders living in the UK who take welfare in the UK and use it to commit terror. Why are they not locked up? Because we have laws that we don't pursue.
Yeah.
We have criminal charges that we don't use. The person in particular I'm thinking of, Mohammed Sawalha, got British citizenship. You're meant to sign a form saying you're a person of good character to become a British citizen. Can you say that somebody who was a former military commander of Hamas in the West Bank is, quote, a person of good character? I'd say not. So again, like the police, like many other people, the border control in the UK doesn't enforce the law, doesn't care to do so. And I repeat, there is a serious problem with this in the UK. Israel, as you can see tonight, can look after itself. I wonder if Britain can say the same.